So in case it wasn't obvious, I am behind the wheel, driving down the road, and you might be asking yourself, why am I doing this? And I think it's because I've got into this. Well, first off, I love driving, and there's something about it that causes me to like get into this like Zen state where I'm so focused on everything going on around me that I could kind of talk nonstop for quite a length of time. And I need to do that for about 10 or 15 minutes because I'm doing a podcast, and I swear to Christ, like, I started the podcast thing with the best intentions of trying to pump out content on a semi-weekly basis. And I did like my first test broadcast where it was, I just introduced myself kind of, and then I had this artificial AI read one of my short stories, and it came out pretty good. Like, I was impressed, way impressed with the AI actually. It sounded like an actual person talking for the most part. But I can't rely on that on a regular basis, and what I want to do is kind of split up the content between I got this idea of doing a fact or fiction thing, and it's like, so Tuesdays will be fictional stuff like short stories or just bold-faced lies, whatever, and then like Fridays are like the anecdotes and stories and opinions and whatnot, because I guess I can go off on a rant pretty good. And I feel like I could do all this and get all this content set up and to put it together. But the problem is that, like, I sit down to record with my podcast and there's like a million fucking distractions. You know, like, I'm sitting at home in my office and I'm trying to record the podcast, and like my phone keeps going off or emails keep coming in, and so there's all these little beeps and dings and bloops in the fucking background. And then like, so I'm like, all right, I'll just go outside. I take my phone outside. It's like, all right, I'm gonna sit here with the microphone and record this real quick, and you know, just sit in a hammock and soak up some sunshine. And I hit record, I start talking, and all of a sudden fucking motorcycles are driving by and dogs are barking. You won't hear a single fucking thing like in my house or in the backyard all day, but the moment I hit record, all of a sudden, like, the Atlanta flight patterns change and I got airplanes flying over me. So I can't get any of that shit done. How many minutes am I at? 3 minutes. Dude, this is so hard. So anyway, like, I got to get a 15-minute segment together for my podcast. I don't even know what to talk about all of a sudden. Like, it's time to sit and record, and I kind of got an idea of what I want to talk about, but I just can't talk about it. Like, I'm having this brain fart. So I figure, why not just do two things at once and kind of try to get the content figured out in my head and out loud for my podcast by driving and doing that at the same time. And I guess it's kind of working, because like it's a few minutes now, like 3.5 minutes or something. So that's fine. I don't know. And like, I could put this on YouTube, and this could be like a introduction to the podcast. What I want to talk about with the podcast is, I basically want to describe what's the point of it, and I want to introduce myself kind of at the same time. Because I got why I'm doing a podcast, and I got the format for it. And really, the reason why I wanted to, I feel like I'm repeating myself here. Am I repeating myself? So, I mean, the reason why I'm doing a podcast is to share stories, both fact and fiction and all that. And the format is called Everything or Nothing, which is legit a throwback to the old internet blog, or old blogs from the internet of the 90s. Because back in the 90s, like, the internet was a completely different fucking place. It was like the Wild West, and basically you stuck a claim and you planted your shit down on it, and you're like, all right, this is my website, this is what's up. And I think one of my favorite parts of internet culture back then was the creation of what were called EN sites, or everything nothing sites, and they were like proto blogs. And this was before blogs that you call them blogs now, but they're not really blogs. Like, there's a lot to unpack here. So the Everything Nothing was kind of like a personal journalistic experience where someone would just kind of have an open online diary. And I really dug that concept because you talked about everything or nothing. It was, you would discuss your day, discuss your thoughts, talk about whatever fucking shit happened. And it was like you talked about everything, but none of it really mattered. And that's why they kind of called it the Everything Nothing whatevers. I was such a big fan of that sort of shit that, like, it has been my hobby for 20 years, and I got a 20-year-old live journal to prove it. Like, you could go look right now and you'll see the goddamn thing is still up and running. And while I'm not as active there anymore because I'm just too damn busy to sit at my desk all day long. Well, I sit at my desk all day long, but just doing stuff as opposed to just updating live journal. Now it's like visiting Facebook or some shit. Just doing my thing, just driving. I don't even know if the sound is gonna be any good on this because, like, the engine is kind of loud on this car right now, or the vibrations or something. I'm about to hit highway speeds. I don't know, probably smack a deer. So don't sneak up on my ass, motherfucker. Dude, if you're gonna ride my ass, pull my hair. That's a terrible place to break down. Okay, so where was I? I was talking about Everything Nothing websites, right? So I was really into it. I dug it. It's a great format. I would like to see it return, even though it's never going to return. So I'm kind of modeling my podcast after that concept, where I'm going to talk about everything and nothing at the same time. And I feel like it'll work. And I don't know, maybe if I'm lucky, I can make the phrase everything or nothing happen again, which would be really exciting. Like, I mean, if Gretchen can make the word fetch happen, I feel like I can do this. And so, yeah, that's the format and the reason for that's the format for the podcast. The reason for the podcast is I want to, like, share my stories in a way that I hope will both entertain people and maybe educate them. If I could do that at the same time, that would be great. But all of a sudden, like I said, it's like, okay, I got my format, I got my reason, now it's time for the content. And then, like, all of a sudden, my brain shuts off, and it's like, I don't know. And so I kind of, like, wrote down some notes, and I'm going to record it and talk about it. But it's like, as soon as I hit record, I just turn goofy. And it's like, I start stammering or stuttering, and I don't know. I can talk on the YouTube thing right here on my own personal dashboard confessional, and it's like no big deal. But sitting with a podcast, I just can't do it. So I don't know. Maybe, like, I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone right now. So I'll record the YouTube. Get off of my... Yeah, go around me, buddy. Jesus, dude. Why do you people... Yeah, and then go in front of me. Like, what is your problem? Anyways, I hope you caught that in the mirror or the window here. This is going to be a shit podcast, isn't it? So, okay, let me get back on subject here, and I'm really terrible, I'm rambling, but that's what 20 years of pot smoking does to you, I guess. Or maybe it's because I'm sober. I think that might be it. So, got my format, got my reason for the podcast. I just got to create the content, and I wanted to talk about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, which I think I did in this video. And I'm hoping I can use portions of this video as either the podcast material itself, or this is just practicing. And I also wanted to kind of introduce those concepts and ideas in the very first episode, and at the same time basically mention a little bit about myself, because who is going to want to listen to my stories if they don't know anything about me? Because it's kind of like, these are my stories and these are my experiences, and I need to kind of put things in perspective and be like, hey, I'm going to talk about people today. And, you know, audience members are going to be like, well, who the fuck are you? You're not a psychologist or anthropologist? A dude who studies dudes? Did not sound right. So it's kind of like, yeah, but, you know, I traveled the country for 15 fucking years, and I met a few thousand people. So I kind of gotten to know people, Black both individually and as a people, and so that's the basis for a lot of my opinions. And also the fact that, like, my opinions, like, I've earned them. Like, I'm not just randomly making shit up and suddenly deciding on shit. Like, I think about stuff a lot. Mostly I think about arguments I had in 7th grade, but also other things. And I'm all like, all right, so this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, and this is why I'm doing it. So yeah, that's kind of like the podcast, but I gotta somehow stretch this podcast out to freaking 15 minutes. And they're like, okay, so I looked it up a little bit, and I was looking up how to do podcasting, which is all fucking shit I should have done before I even started the project. Like, I'm an idiot. And they were like, well, if you're gonna do it every day, it should be 15 minutes, like 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, all right, that's not so bad. I can do that while brushing my teeth every morning. And then it's like, but if you're doing it like semi-weekly or weekly, it could be anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour. It's like, I'm not an hour. What the fuck am I gonna talk about for an hour? That's terrible. And then they're like, oh, and if you're doing it like bi-weekly or monthly, expect to do 2 hours. I'm like, I don't. Okay, semi-weekly it is. So 15 minutes of fucking content twice a week. I got the first half of the week done. Like, we're solid. Just, I'm gonna use the computer AI and my WordPress account on my website and just publish all these short stories I have. And hopefully, before I run out of content on my short stories, maybe I'll get back into writing again and I'll have more content. But then I also got to do the other parts where I'm just doing live shit. And sorry, I'm like driving and doing this at the same time. So, and I'm not going to edit that quiet spot out. It's staying in forever. So, yeah, dude, I'm so lost. Like, I kind of went off on a tangent, and it was multiple tangents at the same time, and I kind of forgot why I'm here. Why am I alive? What's the reason? Why are we here? Dear God, it's me, Margaret. So, yeah, I guess here's my YouTube video about my podcast. And I guess I succeeded in testing out the format and the content of my podcast, because I feel like I talked about everything and said absolutely nothing. Yeah, this is the real reason why I drink.